What's going on, guys? Dan from SSG bringing you another Edison format deck profile. This time I'm profiling my take on Diva Frog Monarchs. It's a deck I've played off and on for quite some time here, and I have an updated build, so let's get right into it. We have the full 3 copies of Mr. Substitute here. Card's just very strong. It's, of course, one of the most important cards of the Frog engine. Can just do some really nasty things. Of course, we're running all 3 copies of Swap Frog as well. This card is really important. It can do a lot of sweet tricks like bounce your own Deep Sea Divas and your Monarchs, and this card is quite important for a lot of things we do in this deck specifically. So we have 3 swap, and then we have 2 copies of Treeborn Frog, of course. Treeborn just staple. We want 2 copies to fight against DD Crow, pretty staple. 2 copies of Dupe, just 2. A lot of builds going up to 3, but I like just 2. I think it could be a little bit bricky in the early game, so just 2 copies. That is our Frog engine. Onto some Monarchs here. We have the full 3 copies of Caius, of course. Format defining card, extremely powerful. We're going to do really nasty things with this. We have 3 copies of Ryza. Ryza is really powerful as well, just the second best Monarch, right? And we're going to be able to combo that with our Wing Blast as well to just keep tempoing our opponent out of the game. So we have the 6 Monarchs there. And I always elect to run 1 copy of Dark Dust Spirit in my Frog style decks because I think it's just really powerful, and it just makes your opponent play differently. It just gives you so much like ways to come back, you know, like whether it be you get attacked and then you by a big board, you live. This comes down, wipes everything away, just completely flips the game on its tail. And then you just also have the battle like traps, the hand traps that can come in, save you from dying through their big push, and then Dark Dust Spirit completely blows people out. So I love this card quite a bit. I always like to play at least 1 in my Frog Monarch base decks. Then we get to the Divas, of course, 3 copies of Diva. You kind of treat this as a second, as like more Monarchs in your deck, but it just does so many nasty things with the spells that we play, taking our opponent's monsters and synchroning with them. Diva's just really, really strong, and like I said earlier, you can bounce this card with Swap Frog. Just does so many powerful things. Very, very good card, and it's just one of the best cards in the format, so we should just play it in any deck that we can. And then for my level 3 target, I am playing 1. It is the 1 copy of Mermaid Archer. This card is just really sweet. It does a lot of cool tricks with it. You can just equip a Aqua Monster to it to gain up to 2,000, have like a little beat stick. So it's the one that you like least dead draw, right? Because Spine Gilman would normally just be a 1,700 stick. This card, you know, you can Reborn Treeborn, normal summon it, and then make this guy a 2,000, which is fairly strong as a normal summon that is normally like a brick in your deck. And also, you can like equip Armory Arm to this thing. Like, there's a lot of cute things you can do with this card, and it's definitely the best target for this deck in this setup specifically. Then the new tech we got 3 copies of Yugioh Prodigy. I added this card to the deck a while ago, but I've been sort of testing it quite a bit lately, and card's just like excellent in this deck. My biggest thing with graveyard decks, you know, decks that rely on specific things like Treeborn Frog getting from the graveyard into play to enable your Diva combos, to enable your Caiuses and Ryzas, is that you need to have some other way that to interact with your opponent once they like try to get rid of the Treeborn Frog, like your main game plan. Everyone's going to have DD Crows ready for you. Everyone's going to have Soul Releases ready for you. And this is the way that you out those things, right? Once they remove your graveyard, they're not going to expect to just drop down Evil Hero Prodigy, sack for Caius. It makes you a little bit more like resilient to those graveyard hate strategies, and I think this card just does everything for you. It's just really powerful. Of course, like when they DD Crow, they go down a card, so they don't really expect to get Caius out of nowhere. They go down another card. Card's just really strong, and it does so much for this deck. Another thing it does is on turn 1, you can just drop it into play and then do a full dupe block when you have Substitute with this card. So this card just does quite a lot for you. It also helps combo with Diva if you don't feel like bringing back your Treeborn Frog. You can kind of just drop this into play and then summon Deep Sea Diva. Gives you access to different levels, 1 being very important, Black Rose Dragon. The level 7 is the 2 from the Prodigy, the Deep Sea Diva, and then the level 3 Mermaid Archer that you're going to grab out of your deck. Go ahead and make a Black Rose for the cost of a normal summon. Really strong card here. It just does so much for this deck. 2 copies of Battle Fader. I like to run 2 Battle Faders, similar to the Evil Hill Prodigies, in the sense that if they do interact with your graveyard, this is a good way to actually come back into the game, and I think it's just very strong. There's a lot of decks that try to kill you. Of course, Blackwings are an extremely aggressive deck. Zombies can OTK you, and you can really punish their pushes with like dropping a Battle Fader, then sacking for Dark Dust Spirit. So Battle Fader, just really strong card. I like playing 2 copies right now in this style of metagame, and it's just been performing really well. It also helps you combo with Substitute, which is very important. Of course, you have Tragodia. This card has just been overperforming in this deck. Like, this card is just incredible. I don't really lose too many games when you draw it early because it just combos with Diva. It just is a threat on its own. You get to accumulate so much card advantage while you're just sitting there with Tragodia and just setting up your plays in the late game. Really strong card. It just does so much for this deck specifically. Of course, we have 1 copy of Gores. We don't really have too much defense in the form of trap cards, so we're going to be running the 2 Battle Faders, the Gores, and the Tragodia to keep us alive, and also they combo with our all of our payoff cards, whether it be the Caiuses and the Rises or the Deep Sea Diva. So a really strong cards there. Onto the spells, 3 copies of Enemy Controller. This card is just incredible. We're going to, of course, take our opponent's stuff during the standby phase with Treeborn Frog coming back. Really strong there. But also just normal summon Diva, get Diva, sack the additional Diva we get, and take their monster and synchro with it. Really strong right there, right? We're essentially just brain controlling. You know, we're just summoning a level 2 tuner, and then brain controlling the opponent's monster for free, which is very strong. And I think the combination of this with Diva, plus the ability to have, of course, the traditional combo of stacking Treeborn Frog to this card, just makes this card extremely powerful in this deck and gives you so many different options in the mid to late game. So, and also can just tempo people out in the early game just by taking their monster and stacking for a Gaia, stacking for a Ryza, just really strong. So, card just does a lot. And then we have, of course, comboing with those, we have the 1 copy of Brain Control, 1 copy of Mind Control, even. Mind Control is like one that, you know, you have access to tuner monsters with the Deep Sea Diva, so that's why we're running it. Of course, Brain Control is just a standard, like, card that's going to be excellent for us in these Monarch style decks, but even though we have ways to like get our Divas back into our hand, which is really strong, which I'll show you in a bit. So we kind of have more copies than just 3 Divas, so I like to play the 1 Mind Control, as we do have ways to recycle our Divas, and we'll always have a tuner to combo with that. And right here, we're playing the 2 copies of Salvage. This card is just incredible. Like, I just love this card so much. It's such a big payoff for adding Diva to your Frog Monarch deck, because this card is just good without the Divas in your deck. Just being able to, like, set up easy dupe blocks by, you know, sending Substitute to the graveyard off of your Swap Frog. Then you can go and grab the Substitute out of your grave and just start doing combos, you know? Or if you have, like, Substitute plus Diva in your grave, you're just adding 2 very powerful cards from your graveyard to your hand, and the +1 just matters so much for our discard traps and for our card advantage. And once we have like the hand traps flowing, like the Battle Faders and the Tragodia and Gores with the Salvages rolling, like, we have so much card advantage. We're never going to die. We're just going to have so much time to deploy all those cards that we're gaining off of Salvage. Card's just completely incredible, and being able to add back a card like Deep Sea Diva is just high value. Very, very powerful card. Not to mention, this card also just helps us combo and make sweet plays with our Diva, because adding back Swap Frogs is very, very important, and we can just drop additional monsters into play to give us more access to various levels. That is a thing that just comes up quite a bit with this card. 1 copy of Avarice. I really want to play 2 because this deck is like pretty consistent at getting the dupe block going. However, I think it's just a little too clunky in the early game. I think Salvage is a little more easy, like a little easier to make online. Whereas, you know, this card is like excellent, of course, but like in the late game, you just want to put all those Monarchs back and just be really powerful, get all those big hand traps back, whether it be Gores, Tragodia, as well as, you know, getting back Caiuses and Divas. That's really where you want to be with this card. I would like to try and find a way to fit it, but 1 has been great for now. We have 1 copy of Heavy Storm, of course. And then we have 3 copies of the Wing Blast. Just the card advantage you gain from this deck, whether it be bouncing a Treeborn Frog to your hand off of Swap Frog, whether it be salvaging multiple cards back for a +1, you're going to have a lot of ways to enable this card, and it's just going to be excellent in combination with Ryza. Going to be awesome with Caius as well. Diva just makes a monster. You can keep them behind, so really, really strong card in the form of 3 Wing Blast. Extra deck, we have Armor Your Arm. This card comes up quite a bit because of Salvage. You know, this Swap Frog plus Diva really strong. Of course, we have the 2 5s in Catastrophe and Android. We have 2 6s, which come up quite a bit, Bionic and Goyo, because of Diva plus the level 3, and Treeborn Frog coming back. Running the 2 7s here, The standard 7s of Black Rose and Ancient Fairy, very strong here. And then I'm also running one copy of Xaber Urbellum. I just been liking this card quite a bit, especially in Monarch-based decks with Diva, because a lot of the time your opponent plays kind of close to their chest against Monarchs because they don't really want their cards to just be Caius and Rise It Away, and they really save up for this big push to try and like make sure you don't have a Gorge or Tragodia, and then they want to try and go for a kill. And a lot of times they'll just keep cards kind of stuffed in their hand, and this card can kind of just get value that way. So card's really good. You can make it pretty easy in this deck, so we run it. It's very, very strong. We have the Stardust and Colossal Fighter, of course. Dark End Dragon, which we make with Diva plus Caius. Thought Ruler Archfiend, Red Dragon Archfiend, Mistworm, and Chimera Tech. 3 DD Crow. 2 Cyber Dragons, an SSG staple if you ever seen one. 3 copies of Vanity's Fiend. Card's just excellent. Like, we're going to be able to easily summon it, so why not play it? Card's just really powerful. Can blow people out of the game. Also running a second copy, Dark Dust Spirit. Going second, this card's just incredible. Being able to like combo with Evil Hero Prodigy to completely blow out big boards like Titanio plus Dandelion tokens, which can be very hard for this deck to deal with. Also, just like big Blackwing boards, just have more copies of Dark Dust Spirit. It's very strong. 3 copies of Soul Exchange, really to combo with our Vanity's Fiends, but also just like sometimes we're just adding the Fiends to our deck and not cutting Caius as it rises. So we're gonna need more ways to tribute monsters, and this card's also great in combination with Substitute as well. We have 1 copy of MST, of course, just standard removal, as well as Duck Tornado. Standard here. And of course, you know it would not be an SSG profile without the 1 copy of Trap Dust Shoot. Somewhere in our main or side, we're going to open this card. 85% our opponent on turn 1 going first. Very strong card. Let's draw it early and often. And that is about it, guys. Let me know what you guys thought about the deck in the comment section below. This deck is pretty awesome. I've been testing it quite a bit, and I've just been enjoying it like a lot. So let me know what you guys thought about it, and I think that's about it. Drop a comment, maybe subscribe, and without further ado, this is Dan V from SSG, signing out.